Jean-Michel Basquiat's rise from the streets of New York to international art stardom is one of the most powerful stories in modern art. In just a decade, he went from tagging walls under the name Samo to creating multi-million-dollar masterpieces that hang in the world's greatest museums. And while his life was cut tragically short at 27, his legacy has only grown stronger. One of the reasons Basquiat remains so relevant today is the way his work continues to be celebrated in major exhibitions around the world. These shows don't just display paintings, they capture the energy, rebellion, and brilliance that defined him. Let's journey through some of the most iconic Basquiat exhibits that have shaped how we remember his genius. The Whitney Retrospective, 1992, cementing his legacy. In 1992, just 4 years after Basquiat's death, the Whitney Museum of American Art in New York staged the first major retrospective of his work. It was a bold move. At the time, many in the art establishment still dismissed Basquiat as a street kid who got lucky. But the Whitney gave his art the recognition it deserved, displaying more than 125 paintings and drawings. The exhibit revealed Basquiat's evolution, from his raw graffiti beginnings to the monumental canvases filled with fragmented text, anatomy sketches, and symbols of Black identity. Critics who once doubted him now had to confront the undeniable depth of his work. This show cemented Basquiat not as a passing trend, but as a defining voice of late 20th century art. Brooklyn Museum, 2005, a homecoming. In 2005, Basquiat returned home, at least symbolically, through the Brooklyn Museum's comprehensive exhibit. This show carried special weight because Brooklyn was where Basquiat grew up and where much of his inspiration was rooted. The exhibition displayed his rare notebooks filled with handwritten poetry, drawings, and ideas. Visitors could see the seeds of his creativity long before the art world crowned him as a star. Massive canvases revealed his ability to blend hip-hop culture, social commentary, and Neo-Expressionist energy. For many New Yorkers, this was not just an art show, it was a homecoming. The exhibit reconnected Basquiat's genius to the borough that shaped him, reminding everyone that his art was inseparable from the streets and rhythms of the city. Basquiat, Boom for Real, 2017, London Awakens. In 2017, the Barbican Centre in London mounted Basquiat, Boom for Real, the UK's first large-scale Basquiat exhibition. For Londoners, it was their first chance to experience Basquiat's art at this scale, and it was electrifying. The exhibit featured over 100 works, including paintings, drawings, and collaborative pieces. But what made this exhibition special was how it connected Basquiat's art to his influences. From bebop, jazz, and punk rock to comic books and African art, the show traced the sources of his chaotic, layered style. Visitors even got to see his collaborations with Andy Warhol, which sparked debates at the time but are now seen as iconic creative fusions. The title Boom for Real came from one of Basquiat's favorite phrases, reflecting his excitement about life and art. And fittingly, the exhibit exploded onto the London art scene, introducing thousands to Basquiat's brilliance. Fondation Louis Vuitton, Paris, 2018, a blockbuster in Europe. The Paris exhibition at Fondation Louis Vuitton in 2018 was nothing short of a blockbuster. Nearly 120 works were on display, spanning Basquiat's entire career. From his earliest pieces inspired by graffiti culture to his monumental late works filled with symbolic crowns, skeletons, and biting political commentary, this show captured the full spectrum of his art. Crowds lined up for hours to see it. For many, it was their first time experiencing Basquiat's work in person. The scale of the paintings, raw, urgent, often overwhelming, left visitors stunned. French critics praised the show for revealing Basquiat's complexity, calling him not just an artist, but a poet of painting. This exhibit was also historic for another reason. It marked the moment Basquiat became a global icon, no longer confined to American art circles. Paris embraced him as one of the greats, placing him alongside Picasso and Matisse in terms of cultural importance. King Pleasure, 2022 to 2023, The Family's Tribute. While many exhibits have analyzed Basquiat's art, few have captured the man himself as intimately as King Pleasure. Curated by his sisters and presented by the Basquiat estate, this exhibition was unlike any before. It featured more than 200 works, many of which had never been seen by the public. Beyond paintings, the exhibit recreated Basquiat's world, his studio, his childhood home, and even the spaces where he lived and worked. Visitors could see not just his art, but his record collection, his handwritten notes, and the personal objects that inspired him. The show revealed Basquiat's softer, more private side. It reminded audiences that behind the mythology of the crown and the chaos was a young man trying to make sense of the world. For fans, it was deeply emotional, a chance to connect with Jean-Michel not just as an icon, but as a brother, son, and friend. Why these exhibits matter? Basquiat's exhibitions are more than art shows. They are cultural touchstones. Each one has helped to reshape how the world views him, moving the narrative beyond the stereotype of a rebellious graffiti artist into recognition of his place among the greatest painters of the modern era. These exhibits matter because they act as living testaments to Basquiat's vision, ensuring that his voice, bold, disruptive, and unapologetically black, continues to resonate across generations. They also remind us that art doesn't exist in a vacuum. Basquiat's work spoke to issues of race, class, identity, and power in the 1980s, and those themes remain painfully relevant today. Exhibitions like King Pleasure humanize him, showing the man behind the crown, while blockbusters in Paris or London demonstrate the global hunger for his work. Each display reignites conversations about representation in art, the commercialization of creativity, and the thin line between genius and tragedy. Most importantly, these shows keep Basquiat alive, not as a relic of the past, but as a contemporary force whose canvases still challenge, provoke, and inspire. They matter because every time a new audience encounters his work, the legacy of Jean-Michel Basquiat grows stronger. Jean-Michel Basquiat's art wasn't meant to sit quietly in a gallery. It was meant to shout, to question, to disturb, and to inspire. And through these exhibitions, his voice continues to echo louder than ever. Even decades after his passing, Basquiat remains one of the most powerful figures in art. His exhibits are more than shows. They are cultural events, bringing together people from every walk of life to witness the genius of a young man who refused to be silenced. So, which Basquiat exhibition would you most want to experience in person? The early Whitney retrospective, the Brooklyn homecoming, the explosive London debut, the Paris blockbuster, or the intimate family tribute? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories from the world of art.